Former president's remarks this afternoon is political analyst, commentator, president, and co-founder of RC Communications, Calvin Dark, and Maura Gillespie, former press advisor to then Speaker of the House, John Boehner, and principal and founder of Blue Stack Strategies. Thank you both for joining us here on Scripps News Weekend. So at the Wilmington rally, President Trump really spent a lot of time touting this election as being about the border and about the economy. What were your main takeaways from the president's campaign speech today? Maura, I want to start with you.
Sure. I think it was interesting when at the end he brought up his grandchildren. That's an important part, to try and make it look a little more personal and really, appeal to families in North Carolina, given what's happening with Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson in that conversation. Obviously he didn't, he disinvited him and he wasn't mentioned, but it's important to remember that he endorsed him, before this news came out and after the fact that we knew many things that Mark Robinson had said. And that is concerning because this is another loss, potentially, looking like it for President Trump. So it's important, that he tried to appeal to North Carolinian voters to still encourage them to come out and vote for him, where many may not want to be out there voting for Mark Robinson. So this is an important moment for him today.
And Calvin, I want to get your reaction to what we heard this afternoon.
Well, I'm from North Carolina. Shout out to Siler City, North Carolina, in the center of the state. And I watched his speech, and it was the same old ramblings. I did notice that he wasn't beside his buddy, Mark Robinson. I do want to clarify that those of us from North Carolina have been saying for years just how much of a disgusting individual Mark Robinson is. And frankly, Donald Trump's endorsement saying he was Martin Luther King on steroids, there were plenty of things, videos of him talking and degrading people. I mean, the man was sued by the Girl Scouts and lost for stiffing them for cookies. So Donald Trump should have just Googled and he would have seen the kind of person that Mark Robinson is. Yet I don't think that mattered to Donald Trump. That's why he endorsed them. And I think that is really going to hurt the Republican ticket all up and down the ballot in North Carolina.
And Maura, do you think that not really seriously and straightforwardly denouncing Mark Robinson is going to hurt Trump in this state that is very key in this election?
It absolutely should, and Calvin's right. I mean, think about this. He was vetted, presumably, from the Trump world, from their campaign world vetted him, knowing he said that, women who supported birth control were witches, that women who got raped deserved it. He said countless things that are horrible and horrendous, and yet Donald Trump still chose to endorse him, which really, when there were other candidates that could be in this position who would be, potentially winning this race. But instead, Mark Robinson went into this week 10 points down, and then this news about the Nude Africa porn site that he was on purportedly came out. So it's dropped even more significantly. But so by not denouncing it outright is part ego. And that is one of the biggest problems that the Republicans are facing right now, is that Trump continues to take all the oxygen away from what Republicans want to message on, and what Republicans in North Carolina and across the country really need to be pushing messaging on. And Donald Trump has derailed them time and time again, from his own campaign, but also from what the broader Republican Party needs to be talking about.
And former President Trump did seem to stick more to messaging, not veering off the teleprompter maybe as much as other rallies that we've seen in the past. There was, some moments where it did seem he went off script and made some asides, but overall this seemed a more on-message speech than we've seen, and some really focusing on the economy, really focusing on immigration. Calvin, what do you make of seemingly sticking more on message? Do you think his advisors are making progress in, helping him stick to policy?
No. And frankly, I think that his rhetoric was really divisive for North Carolina. That's just not the way Republicans or Democrats talk, especially when he denigrated immigrants and started reading crime reports with anybody who had a Latino sounding name. But I think the big deal is before Mark Robinson, before all of that, Kamala Harris was doing really well and had a real shot at winning North Carolina, because let's keep in mind, Biden only lost by just over a point, around 100,000 votes. And so now I think with the very strong Democratic candidate, Josh Stein, she has a very, very good chance of winning. And so I think that the Trump campaign realizes this wasn't just bad for the governorship of North Carolina, but this might be that swing state that helps Kamala Harris if she isn't able to get Georgia or Pennsylvania.
And Calvin, do you think that the Harris campaign, what do you think the Harris campaign needs to do in the 6 weeks that we have left to possibly seal the deal on taking home North Carolina's 16 electoral votes?
Well, I think what they're doing now is great. Like they're going to the big, metropolitan areas, but they're also going out into other parts of North Carolina, like where I'm from. Now, the Trump campaign is doing the same because there's a lot of opportunities, even among Republicans in North Carolina who just don't want to support Donald Trump. I also think that the ad that they released, where they just remind people of the links between Mark Robinson and Donald Trump, are going to be very, very effective and probably speak more than any condemnation that Trump may offer, which he probably won't.
Yeah, we saw the Harris campaign come out with those photos and social media posts very quickly after all of this Robinson reporting surfaced on CNN. Maura, I want to ask one more question to you. It's still a really tight race in the Tar Heel state. One poll recently showing the Kamala Harris in the lead by just 1 point. That's, of course, in the margin of error. What does Donald Trump need to do if he wants to win in North Carolina come November? Any specific strategies that you think could help him move the needle here?
I think if Donald Trump were to denounce his, endorsement and retract his endorsement of Mark Robinson, that would certainly help. But at this point, the best thing that Donald Trump can do and should already be doing is trying to help down ballot races. Talking to congressmen and trying to help the House of Representatives and Speaker Mike Johnson build their majority. But again, the problem for Republicans is that our top of the ticket is focused on himself and only himself. For Speaker Johnson and for those in the Senate who are looking to win the Senate, I know there's no Senate races in North Carolina, but for the House, it really does matter, trying to expand on that majority. And so the best they could do is hope that he would share some of his fundraising apparatus. And, that's where they are going to need the most help in this final stretch until November.
Yeah, not just the presidential election at stake here, so much more on the table. Calvin Dark and Maura Gillespie, thank you both so much for your time.